Hello friends, my name is Ashok Sijala. In this session, we learn the range validator in ASP.NET with C#. So let us start. First, I share my laptop screen and here fix the position. And here Microsoft Visual Studio Express for Web Edition open. Validation website folder is already open in file menu. Take new file. And here C# web form file is there, and here give the name of file, and that is we use range validator. So range validator and underscore demo. Okay, so we can implement the range. So that name is we can define some range. Okay, so here I just full screen and title fix in HTML. Add section in title our page, and that is a range validator control. So that is our goal we have to fix. And then here I take one panel as a container control ID like P1 net server side and grouping tags. We can take employee information. So here employee information, and then take back color, and we take some here, and that's pick up color option is there, and here take like blue. Okay, no problem, and just close the panel and take the simple HTML tag, and that's ID we have to supply like T1 run at server side, and then border of the table. So here supply one and just close the table tag. Okay, now tr table row, and that td you have to take one first label, and that label provide the id like lbl eid employee id run at server side, and then that text that is a just id of employee. And next td we have to take, and we have to take the text box control, and that's the id txt eid, then run it server side, and we can take just close, and now we have to apply our first range validator. So that is, and also we have to also apply the require field validator. Okay, so that is just user cannot supply the blank value. So require eid, and then we have to say tax, and that we can say that id is require. So that type of message, and also take the error message. So we can use validation summary control. So error message print in the validation summary control. So here we can distinct emp. Okay, just dot, and id is required. So both message some distinct, and control to validate, and that is txt our text box id eid employee id, and just close. Okay, now we have to take the range validator to our session goal of this lecture, and that range range. Okay, so ran we have to provide first three letter, and employee eid we have to define, and run it server side same as a tax. We can say that id must be uh, in in between 1001 to 200. 101. Okay, 101. Yes, no, 1000. We have to also take 1001, but here 101 and 200. So fix our goal, and then also give the same as a error message, and that's we have to just I copy this message and prefix to emp. So that is our distinct message error and text. So here just provide emp ID must be in the between. Okay, and control to validate same as above, txt eid, then we can give I just above and forward, so you can look for better. And here we have to provide uh, first type. So our type is a like integer data type. Okay, and then we have to supply minimum value, so that is a 101 101, and maximum value, that is a two distinct property of range validator, that is not support other validator control like regular expression compare validator. So minimum value and maximum two separate, or every validation control in ASP is a some specific property for that validator control. Okay, so here 200 we have to provide and just close, and let us check to design our first row. So yes, now is appear. Okay, but our both message here, first is a require and then our range, both are concat. So we provide some separation. So first, after we can provide here uh, like NBSPN just semicolon, and I copy this and paste to our required for. So one is one page. So here some message is distinct. Okay, and now we can take the second field, and I just copy this row and copy and paste to second row, and that is a name of the employee. And you can also use the here compare validator. So ID must be integer. In case if user take some alphabet, then that is also error. So we can also use compare validator. COM compare run at server side, and tax ID must be in integer. Okay, run it. You can say that run it is already there. Error message. So just prefix EMP ID must be in integer. Okay, and then control to valid, not compare. Valid, we can say that, and that is txt eid, and then we can define the operator, and that's the data type check, and last is type, and that is a integer. So now we can apply employees at three require field validator range, but our goal of this session is just we can understand the range validator. Other in my previous demo lecture I've already covered, but here we have to also use. Okay, now we have to employee name, and here change the ID of text box, and that is txtnm, and we have to provide here just uh, require field validator, not range validator here. And here we change the ID txtnm, and also change the error message and text message. Name is required, and here just name is required. Rest of we cannot change. Okay, and now last we have to take next row. Okay, and that's the joining date. We have to directly take employee joining date. So joining and dates. Okay, so we can also use that uh, range validator. So here fix ID of text box txt. We can say that joining date. So jd. Okay, and require field validator, we can just change here txt jd joining date just, and also change the I go directly. So here we can joining date is required, and here also in name you can say that joining date is required, employee joining date is required. Now turn off range validator second time. So RAN and JD joining date, run it server side, and then text. We can say that joining date must, or you can say that in between 1/1/2020 to 31 to 12 month and 2020. So is current year. Okay. So 1st January to 31 December up to you have to take the joining date. Okay, and then type is we have to take here, that is year, and just above here we can take the date as a type, and then minimum value and maximum value. So first give minimum, so 1, and then we can take 2020, and maximum we can 30, and then dash 12, and then 2020. So that is our fix the range. Okay, so we can use the range validator just particular range like product ID, or like in a election any form is there. So 8 person age is above the 80 and below the 60, or any competition exam form fill up, that is a, say, some like range is a above the 25 day age and below the 30 or 35, whatever that is required of that form. So now our three field and range validator we have to just take in this session. So here I can just revise. Here we can use first range of employee ID. ID must be between 100, 101 and 200 in between. So we can give the control to validate txt eid, that is a ID of text box, and type is integer data types. Also we can check in CompareValidator, and minimum value 101 and maximum is a, there is two main property that is a distinct to other control, other validator control. So minimum value and maximum. So in age of election, that time you can give the minimum value like 18 and maximum is a 60. So that type. Okay. And also you can fix the like product quantity in between. You can supply of that quantity like above 20 and below the 50 or 100, whatever your requirement of product form. Okay, and the second use we have to here take the date. So here just I revise ID, run a text and error message, joining date is in between, and here okay, yes, here also take the error message. So take in last, no problem, error message, and then I just copy because there is long message, so I just copy this message. Okay, so I shift and then copy, so that is easy, and then I paste, and distinct to here just we have to go directly mouse and here emp. Okay, so also provide the error message, and the type, there are three main we have to set. Type is a data type. Minimum value is a starting of January 1/1/2020, and maximum is a 31/12, means 13 December up to you can give the joining date. Okay. And also we can provide here control to validate, it is remaining, so otherwise it is not applying. So txt jd, okay, joining jd, yes, that is our, I think, text box ID, yes, right. So there is a, you can apply that text box. Okay, now we can take one next row, and that row we can submit our data to label text, or directly you can print response to right on page. Okay, so here we can take TD, and that TD only one button, so all span is required give to 2, and here taking our submit button, and that's ID BT submit, we can say that, and run it server side, and then text is submit, and then font we can give some formatting. Font bold is true, then font size is like large, so many possible values there, so I just above and go some forward. Yes, large first value, and then four color we have to take like dark, slate, and blue. Okay, and just close the button tag. Okay, and also after the label, just take one label to print our three field of employee. LBL answer, you have to give answer or result any for choice, and text is just out. We have to print this label. So let us check our design now. So there is a three field of employee, and I just move to here. So there is a all are blue, so we can take some background different, so you can see easily because all are mixed up. So here like we can take directly pink. Okay, so let us check our design now. Looking is just some better for previous. So here require field validator, here is require, and here is require. Then that is a range validator, and that is a compare validator, and that is also range. So that is our goal, and we can take only three employee field. Okay, and okay, now we can take the also here just submit button, and if condition, if page dot is valid. Okay, is valid is true, then all field is proper, that format or that validation. So label text we can first print, we can say that just ID of employee, and that text box txt eid dot text, and then br tag we have to provide and taking the employee name field, and that txt just nm dot text, and then br tag you have to provide and taking the joining date. Okay, and then last our text box txt dot text, and just semicolon, and else part you have to give like response dot write directly, and that's you can say that invalid form. Okay, so if all the field is valid, then and then page class is valid is true, otherwise it will become false. And also you can take the joining date from calendar control, that is also possibility. So in this example I not take calendar, but you have to take okay. Now let us check to our coding, and that is range validator. We have to just in this session how it works. So there is two main property, minimum value and maximum value. There is main two property in range validator. Okay, so here now page is compiled, and yes, now is running range validator underscore demo aspx file, and now yes, coming is yes, here is our file, and come take the process. Okay, so now is yes, now appear, and here we can take the below like our minimum value is a we can first yes I check just submit. So ID is required, name is required, joining that is give by the required field validator, and also we can take first and then check, and that is a validation summary control. So all error message display on that. Okay, so I just after the label and provide one BR tag, and then here just put validation summary, and that's ID VAL run at server side, and just close. There is no any other required, so ID and run it. Okay, so directly on page we cannot set any like message box also show summary and show message box. Show summary is by default on, and if you print in pop-up dialog box, that type show message box is true and show summary is false. Okay, I just here yes now is appear. So here is a text message and here is a error message is display. So we have to prefix is a EMP. So we can identify here is a, so here the field that is print is a text message, and in validation summary use the error message, and here is a text message. Okay, I give the first alphabet, so that is a compare validator check. So ID must be and must be both messages appear. Now I give the below the like employee ID 2012 or 20 any one below the 100. So that is just remaining. ID must be between 101 and 200. So we can compulsory supply our ID in between this range, and also check. I give joining date of employee, and that is a in previous year like 1 and we can give the 2019. Okay. So that is now joining date in between. So there is a range validator give the message. You cannot supply the previous academic or year. So here you can compulsory supply and also check I give 201. So that the message same is working. There is a not give the maximum upper range 201. So there is a limitation, and we can 101. So that is working, and give the name of employee. And now here we can take joining date. I just 2020, and okay that current month, and today's date is 7 like 8 and yes 7 August. So now is printing. Yes, our call is sufficient. So that is the current date we have to take also from the calendar control. Okay, so that is a finish. I just revise this thing, and in our session of this lecture, that is only for understanding how the range validator control work. So here our range validator ID can provide RN, EID run at server side, and text message ID must be in 101 and 200, and then error message employee ID must be in between 10 and 200. Control to validate TXT EID type is integer, minimum value 101 and maximum 200. Okay, so that is first use, and second here I use is the joining date. So we can data type is now is a date. So here RNJD run it and text message, that is simple joining date in between 1/1/2020 and 31/12 December 2020. Date type is a date data type, and minimum value 1/1/2020 and maximum value 31/12 and 2020, and error message. Okay, and control to validate. So that is now I think complete. And also if you here in the take here calendar control, I can previously you can check to yourself, but I just give the idea. Here we have to just define calendar, and that's ID like CAL and run at server side. Okay, and we have to provide the text box to calendar. So here first our text box and then taking the calendar, so that is appropriate. So here I just paste, and let us take first design and then Yes, so that is a calendar control, and I just select, and here format menu is there, and here set position. So default is absolute, I give the relatively, and now I can move this calendar to particular place. I just move and set the that text box to here. Okay, so that is take more pace, and now I just apply to whenever submit button. So take the calendar date to text box. So we can define in the coding part. Okay, so whenever calendar is selected, then take the date to text box. So I just click this calendar control, that is run mode. So I just stop, and then we can take the calendar like text box joining date text. Okay, and that is calendar dot selected dates just. Okay, so yes, okay, there is a date, and that is return date time. So here two string is required, so that is also, and two short date string. Okay, so we can just take the date only, so two short date string. Okay, now let us check how it's a take from calendar control to date. Yes, okay, so here first I just submit, so all messages appear, require field validator. Now I give again below the 101 to employee ID, and that is a 51, so that is in between, and also check the higher range like 200. So 201 is not working, but exactly we have to provide maximum value, so that is possible. And now name, and then take our current date from calendar control, so 7, so that is appear, and there is a valid date employee, so there is no reason, and just submit. So also you can put the calendar control, and also this calendar control hidden in JavaScript coding to take one some image and then hide like DTP control in the C# Windows application. So in my next upcoming video lecture, I cover this topic. So I hope you can understand. Okay, so here I complete my session, and I hope you can understand of how range validator is work. So range validator is very simple, and just minimum value and maximum, that is a main, and here we can use for date. So that is important. So here I just revise this date range validator ID run a tax, and joining date in between 1/1/2020 and 31/13 December 2020 date, data type date, and minimum value 1/1/2020 and 30 December 2020, and error message, and control to validate it is our text box ID. So that is you have to know very well. Whenever any control to apply that validation, so you can set the control to validate. That is the property of base validator. All common property inherit all 6 validation control in the base validator class. So in ASP.NET. So I hope you can understand, and just coding is very simple, so there is no I think required to revising. Just 3 text box print, okay, and in label text, and if any field is remaining, that invalid form. Okay, and also we can select the calendar from date to short date, and that is a selection change event of calendar control. So I hope you can understand. So subscribe my channel Ashok Sijal Academy and press the bell icon to never miss any update. Hare